So, hi everyone, both here in person and on Zoom. I'm Lyric Christian. I'm on the Global Pro and Artist Relations team here at MAC Cosmetics, alongside Christian Mitchell, Monique Boyer, and Kayla Stokes, who's in the back right here. We're beyond excited to welcome you all to our Pro to Pro Halloween Masterclass, live here from our global headquarters. So before we dive in, I've got to give a quick shout out to Mac Pro membership, as all of you guys are Mac Pro members because you're here. But for those that are tuning in online that might not be as familiar, if you're a makeup artist, beauty industry professional, or student, head over to macproapplication.com. It only takes a few minutes of your time to sign up. And as a member, you'll enjoy incredible perks like discounts in all freestanding stores and online, exclusive education and events, pro-to-pro communications, early access to new launches, and masterclasses like the ones we're hosting here today. So and now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce our incredible Executive Director of Trend, Kat Quinn, who's going to take us through the hottest Halloween trends this season. So Kat, take it away.
Thanks, Lyric. Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here. Halloween is like the Super Bowl here at MAC, so we're very excited, and I feel so blessed to be here with these amazing artists who are going to bring 3 really cool trends to life for you today. But before we get started, we wanted to just have a conversation about MAC in general, Halloween, how our products have been used. So first I want to properly introduce, this is Chantel Miller, our Director of Makeup Artistry and Content for North America. We have Romero Jennings, our Director of Makeup Artistry, and the amazing Fatima Thomas, our Senior Artist. And you were hinting at it a little bit before, but you've all been at MAC for over 20 years, each of you. So I'd love to know, take us back to like the MAC store in the 90s and 2000s, Halloween. What does it look like?
Oh.
It was the busiest day of the year.
Yeah.
It was like the Makeup Olympics for us.
Yes.
You know, I mean, we really, I think, prepped for long periods of time.
Yes.
And had many, many references and used many, many days before Halloween to execute all of our wildest and sometimes slightly inappropriate dreams for Halloween.
Many of them were cheeky. We would probably not do them today.
Right.
But I will say that Mac Pro always came through because you know if you go to a Halloween party, you're dancing, sweating, it's always hot, you want your makeup to stay in place. And that's why we're using the products that we're using today.
Amazing. In terms of Halloween, before we get into like the more specific trends that you're creating, we wanted to take a moment to just talk about trends in general, the macro trends that we're seeing this Halloween, because it feels different. Like you can feel there's an energy in the air in New York, and there's also an energy on TikTok that I've been noticing. So what have you kind of seen in terms of like the larger overarching trends this season?
I want to start off on this one. I think that what I'm seeing kind of overall is more and more adults are claiming Halloween because it's the one time of the year that we can get away with stuff that we can't do the rest of the year. I'm seeing these doll trends, and I have to say that might have been kicked off by Pat McGrath doing that amazing look for the Galliano show, putting everybody in that doll mindset. And I'm not seeing as many monsters. I think people are going for more interesting characters and more sort of do-it-yourself. You know, I think people are going thrifting, finding costumes, not just going into a Halloween store and buying your box costume, but if you do, you're adding some customization to it. So I think people are really personalizing what they're doing for Halloween. Dolls are big. I think some of the films that came out this year are going to be big. The Crow, Beetlejuice, and the Wicked, and so witches. And I think there's this kind of interesting kind of mysticism creeping into Halloween now. People are going with more, not just scary, bloody, but mystical themes.
Mystical, but I feel like many of them still are sexy. Everybody wants to look like a ghoul, but they want to have it like they still want a snatched waist or a... So I think this summer was a Bratz summer. I feel like it was it's a Wicked fall right now. So I think witches are really big, green is really big, so I'm going to show you that today.
Witches are the brats of fall.
I feel like we're also seeing like a technology and technique blend with Halloween. You know, so makeup technology has come so far, and there are so many elements of beauty. And to your point, like wanting to be a pretty or sexy character means being able to take a lot of traditional beauty elements And Halloween a few years ago, it was like a white face was a full matte white face. Now you're still seeing those tricks and those beauty moments in Halloween, which makes it, I think, more personal and just more like exciting to see what everyone else is creating.
Yeah, I love
I
that.
totally agree. I feel like it's like full on glam and like drag ultimate, where it's sculpting, highlighting, contouring, like all those, as you said,
Bring all the tricks.
Yeah, everything. It's no longer like I'm just going to be green and it's flat. It needs to be three-dimensional. There's some glow and glitter, all of that.
Yeah, I love that. And another big trend that we're going to talk about, but it's pretty much a goth Halloween.
Yeah.
Feels like this season. How do you feel about that?
We've had this lead up, right? And it's sort of how makeup trends over the years and how things become somewhat cyclical. But I feel like when we talk about like those moments of getting back into the music of the 90s and then getting into the makeup of the 90s, and then when you start to really expand on that, you're like, wait, there was a goth movement there. And then you see like a Wednesday Addams and you start to see a new goth coming through. Goth is such a complex, large trend that you can dive into in so many ways. It can be beautiful, it can be romantic, and it can be evil as hell for Halloween.
Yeah, totally. And I love that you mentioned Wednesday. Something that's really fun this Halloween, I feel like this has been a year where makeup in film is back. We had Wicked, we had Beetlejuice, we had The Crow. What am I forgetting? Joker. So many moments that had like very iconic, strong makeup looks. And what's so special about MAC is that a lot of these are, bringing back reboots of films, and MAC was sort of the blueprint and the DNA for a lot of those. So I'd love to know, are there any movies that featured MAC products or MAC pros doing makeup in movies that have now kind of become iconic Halloween costumes?
I would definitely say the Joker. The Joker for sure. And just last year I was able to do, Miley Cyrus has two sisters. I don't remember which one it is, but she's a DJ. And I ended up doing this look on her, and I never would, not like a Halloween person. And it was challenging, but it was really fun at the same time. And it was this sort of like Joker, glam, and sort of ghoul at the same time.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Nikki Lederman is a MAC pro who did the makeup in both Jokers, this most recent one and the one before. And they use the MAC chroma cakes, and he actually does them on screen too, which is really cool to
And
see.
it's a really DIY makeup. Like you can do it yourself, you can't make a mistake. It's that whole wabi-sabi. It's okay for it to be imperfect. That becomes perfection.
Yeah.
So just really having fun and playing with it.
Yeah, I interviewed her and I was like, how did you do the continuity? She's like, oh, we didn't worry about it. She's like, we wanted it to look like it would mess up and change between scenes. And I thought that was
kind of degrades.
I love
so
that.
cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
You'll see that here today.
Any others?
Well, I like that we discussed earlier that we learned that we sent the makeup department of Stranger Things,
Yeah.
one of my favorite scary shows, a big jar of lip gloss
Yeah.
to use on the production, which I'm a big fan of clear lip gloss, any lip gloss. I love it. And it's the shiniest, stickiest gloss in the galaxy. And I love that because it stays put. And when you said that, it made sense. I'm like, yes, that would be the perfect thing to make the monster look shiny and kind of, you know.
Yeah. If you remember
awesome.
when Billy gets the flayed, that's all lip gloss.
Oh, yes.
And really
Oh, I
really
love it.
easy to create blood as well.
Yes.
Just mixing it with red, and it's just instant blood.
And coffee grounds too for like a
Uh-huh,
murkier
little
blood,
Ooh.
Chunky blood.
chunky blood.
Yeah,
And it
blood.
stays
Textured.
put. Unlike back in the old school, we would mix some Caro syrup and some food coloring, and it would run on you. But lip gloss, it stays where you put it.
Yeah.
Kat, speaking of back in the day, Matt, I remember us also taking tissues from behind the counter and lash glue and creating like monster textures.
Hope you're going to see some of that over here today.
There you
Love
go.
it.
And I think we can't ever discount like a Disney villainess.
Yeah.
We're always there. That Ruby Woo, she gets around.
Yep, Cruella, all of them.
She's a nice sassy girl, but she's a Disney evil queen sometimes too.
She is. My favorite is Black Swan, knowing that that iconic makeup is matte chromoline, and then the lip was Vino with Dubonnet in the center. I mean, people still create that costume to this day. It's so cool that MAC was there when that was created. So I love
And
that.
it's kind of interesting, Kat, too. It's like we're celebrating the shadow,
Yeah.
right? When we think of like the shadow as an archetype, it's like let your inner bad girl or bad boy come out. Don't be ashamed of it. Celebrate it. Halloween, I think, is a perfect time for that too, to express it creatively. So I see that theme like with witches and with Beetlejuice, because Beetlejuice is a weirdo. He's a weird guy, right?
Surely.
He's likable, but he's kind of scary. So that's an interesting theme, I think, leading up to the end of the year.
So you're saying express your shadow.
Well, we all have one, according to Carl Jung. So we all have one, and you should embrace it, not necessarily deny it or push it away.
I love it. Well, we'll close with this before we bring out our amazing models to actually get into some of these looks. But I'd love to know to you, what is like the most quintessential MAC Halloween product?
Oh, there's so many.
Oh.
We've used like all of them. For me, it's chroma cake.
Yeah.
Chroma cake, because I feel like you can layer. You can put a dark color on, layer a lighter on top, and it actually will show up. Chroma cake, 100%, and stays in place. You don't need anything to fix it. Yeah.
Great.
I'm gonna go with, I love paint pots because I feel like they're a great beauty product and everybody has one. And there are all kinds of things you can do and expand it as shadows on the face or little veins. You can paint it, you can blow it out, and it's a way to experience bigger moments in makeup like Halloween without necessarily investing in like a whole new set of makeup.
So you might need that and one chroma cake.
Yes, I'm not gonna deny, I love a chroma cake. I do love a chroma cake.
I'm going to riff off of you, Chantel. When I think about us as artists, we will go the full gamut and get all kinds of different products to explore. But for a lot of people who aren't makeup artists, but who know their way around their makeup, using things out of their own makeup bag. So I'm going to go with that hi-fi palette?
Hi-fi color palette,
Hi-fi color,
yeah.
because not only is it beautiful for your beauty looks, but it's perfect for Halloween because you got a lot of color, a lot of texture in there that you can create with.
Love it. Well, thank you. Well, I won't hold us back from these amazing looks any longer. And because we have such an amazing, intimate group here today, please feel free to ask questions. Like, they're going to be going through the looks and talking you through them. But raise your hand, ask questions. This is meant to be really interactive and a learning experience. So without further ado, I'll invite our amazing models out. We have Cameron, who will be modeling the doll look. These are all MAC employees, so thank you for being here. Shelly be doing the witch. And Jack, guess
It's a
what?
ballerina.
All right, have fun.
All right. All right, who here has used chroma cake before? I love it. I'm gonna show you why you need this very soon. All right, so I've prepped Shelly with a little bit of Hyperreal Ceramizer first. So yesterday we were talking about how some products can stain if the skin is really dry. And I found that Hyperreal, and Shelly will back me up today by saying her skin, and we did only, I'll show you this, we did one side. That was our test yesterday, right? One side of the face and no staining, right? But you need to prep properly, so I used the ceramizer first, and it was amazing. All right, what are you doing, Chantel?
Okay, so for Jack, I started with just a little bit of a mixture of paint sticks in his hair, dry as is. I want to set up a little bit of like a scungy green. I went as the Joker last Christmas. No, that's the wrong holiday. Last Halloween, and my hair was bleach blonde, and I could not get that temporary hairspray out of my hair to save my life. So paint stick is just like a great product to use that will wash out as well. And then I'm going to start with actually Sudafix Fluid, which is definitely more traditional beauty foundation. It is matte, and instead of going for a full white skin, I'm going to mix it with the pure white paint pot, and we're going to start to blanch out the skin. So instead of having to really level up, this is sort of a nice way to kind of brighten things you might already have at home.
And for Cam, I decided we got a lot of doll themes we could choose from, but let's go with the good old Bratz doll, right? I'm a Barbie girl. I grew up on Barbies because I'm old. But I'm getting into Bratz, and I like the makeup on the Bratz dolls. They have the most amazing makeup when you look at them closely. So what I want to build here is a really doll-like vinyl perfected skin. You know, dolls look so even, so perfected. I'm going to use a combination of the new Studio Radiance 24-Hour Luminous Concealer and good old Studio Fix Powder Foundation to get that velvety, vinyl looking skin, and then I'll start building color over it.
So to activate your chroma cake, I love using the Fix Plus Magic Radiance, especially because this is it's hydrating and has some oils in there as well. So if you use water, it's great, but you might find that it just gets quite dry, right? So better to use something like this, which is more of a hydrating water spray. So we found out with our test yesterday that I wanted to use the deeper green. And when we were doing it, what did you say that it looked like?
It was just a bit froggy.
It was a bit froggy. So we thought, all right, even though this looks quite yellowy, this really photographs when it dries down more of a really great like Bratz or green witch look. And notice that I'm just stippling. This is the 109 brush, and just tap, tap, tap. And you get really great coverage from it. It dries down, you powder it, and you can do anything on top of this. Super easy.
And one thing I did on Cam, because I wanted her to have a more doll-like eyebrow, she has these amazing natural eyebrows. Full hair, like the brows that most of us wish we had, but I wanted them to look a little more vinyl-like, so I just took a glue stick and I didn't completely block them, I just plastered them down so that they'll stay, and then I'll draw over them. But I love how the glue stick gives that shine like a vinyl doll face.
And to mimic what Fatima just said, I did the same with the glue stick. And this, I really just plastered them down so that this product will go on top of it, and then I can draw brows on or use an applique.
So for me over here, one of the things to consider, and I think especially to speak about how people are really harnessing texture in beauty makeup these days, is how do you get the idea of a white, pale down, dead skin without getting that texture, that matte texture that comes with doing a full coverage white. And so I think something that is wonderful to consider is consider what putting a white on your high points does to the lower tones in the lower areas of your skin. So I'm mixing the pure white into the foundation and really just coming across all of the high points. Like, as you know, Ghoul has a lot of sunken, sallow, evil kind of roughness. And so instead of taking everything out and putting everything back intentionally, I'm just gonna highlight through the center of Jack's skin and see how that already makes his under eyes appear more violet, more sallowed out. It gives, like, there's no foundation here, so we're picking up the goldens in his skin as our base level for shape and contour. It's gonna allow me to use much, much less product, and it's gonna allow me to capture textures that look more real.
How many in the room like to do a prep before an actual job? Amazing. Yeah. I mean, for something like this, definitely, like, I would want to do it. So just so that I can finesse the look on the final day. And I just prepped her liner with a little bit of the Liquid Last liner. And again, just stippling. As I'm tapping with the brush, it's actually drying it down quickly. So I like to do this when I'm doing regular makeup as well. It looks very strange, but the tapping, it's almost like pixelating the product onto the skin. So you're almost like airbrushing it on. And the 109 brush, when it's wet, it's almost like little fingers. So it's just like tap, tap, tapping. You get more dimension that way. How many people use sponges? I think this product would be a little tricky with a sponge. You can try it, but I think it picks up better with the brush. And then as it dries down, you just spray again. Sorry, this one is so yucky looking, but it's my personal. Yes.
For all the days that you do your foundation in
green.
green.
Exactly. And honestly, like, this will last you 1,000 years. You'll probably never finish it, just saying. But you can also depot and put it in a smaller palette, which I have in my kit too. Turn this way.
So I'm going in now with a lighter shade of concealer, just to give some dimension. Most dolls, especially Bratz dolls, I looked them up, looked really closely. They're not necessarily highlighted. Most of them aren't. But I think when you translate this onto a real face, it's nice to bring in this beauty element of a bit of highlighting to play with the dimensions of the bone structure. And I'm just packing this on. And you notice I'm using a beauty blender and I'm just stippling because I just want to blend it, but build it. I don't want to shear it out. And then if this isn't enough, it's going to have Studio Fix powder on top. So she should look really doll-like and flawless by the time I'm ready to add color. I think what I like about the doll makeup is I think Halloween should be accessible to everyone, even people who don't feel as courageous in their artistry. And this is something that I think most people could achieve.
I'm just adding in some of the white in smaller areas on its own, just to bump up the structure. And I'm using a really kind of rough, whippy brush stroke, not super worried about blending things in. I do also want to state, white is not the color choice I would make for every skin tone. So if you have a richer or a deeper skin tone and you want to get that paled out sallow effect, I would look at paint pots like Groundwork or Painterly or even the soft ochre, things that have a bit more golden in them and that are a bit more native to the rich skin tone that you're working with, and try mixing those with a concealer or a foundation that's maybe 3 to 5 shades lighter than the person that you're working on. I think typically white on a deeper skin just kind of looks chalky and is not kind of, I know Beetlejuice is not the, I would say, beauty forward, sexiest ghoul out there on the planet, but Jack's pretty cute here, so I think we're gonna go with sexy ghoul.
So this product again, and it's crunching out, and consistency is really important. So if you wet this too much, it's quite streaky. So you want to almost create a paste, right? So swirling until it's drying out, tapping a couple of times to dry it even more, and then you could see like the surface, there's no water on it, and then you can start touching it on. And this way you can go on and layer over and not have any separation. So basically create a paste and then just tap.
I love when you get a new, I still buy dolls. Go figure. I mean, dolls are a really interesting theme because humans have made dolls for thousands of years. Children play with them, adults play with them, or we collect them, which is an adult way of saying we play with dolls. But I think dolls are interesting because they're a way that people can kind of enact fantasies. So why not just become your own doll, right, Cam? So you see I've loaded Cam up with a ton of concealer. And she's starting to look quite vinyl-y, but I want to set this. So I'm letting that concealer kind of cure or set, and then I'm going to go in now with some Studio Fix powder and sort of mimic the color stacking that I did with the concealer.
So what I love about this green is that no one is going to question what you are when you show up. Sometimes in these costumes, and you have to explain yourself. It was that movie, and then it was back in the day, and it was this and that. It's like, you know who she is, straight up, right? So as Chantel and I were talking about earlier, so now we're creating a little bit of dimension, and I'm going in and just adding, what I love is layering. This is my paint stick palette, by the way, famous to the world. Anytime I hold this up backstage at Fashion Week, I feel like photographers, the camera goes up, they start taking pictures. This palette has made my kit famous, I'm just saying. So paint stick, it's a different texture, it's creamy, but look how you can layer on top of that. So you can really create dimension and highlight by just using the paint stick palette right over the chroma cake, and it's just still sort of curing and drying, and you just get this beautiful, like organic highlight that's happening there. So of course, I'm not gonna dip back into here because it's gonna be what? Green, right.
I'm coming in with a paint pot called Bougie. For those of you who are familiar with eyeshadows like Starry Night or Club, they're that dual chrome. It's got a red, it's got a green to it. I'm gonna really give this particular one a bit of a workout. So I'm starting to just sort of lay down this color against bare skin. If I use it thin, it tends to go really red, which is great. I'll add the blacks in. When you look at like the actual makeup from the film, it's quite black and it's quite strong and the shapes are quite graphic. To do something a bit sexier and a bit more romantic, I'm gonna go with a more of a blowout. And so I'll also be bringing this in. What's so cool about this is you see it against bare skin red, but when I use it on top of black, it turns into a metallic green. So I'm gonna do detailing with this and black, so I'm gonna get really like a bigger bang for my buck out of this one product.
You gotta love Studio Fix Powder Foundation. I call it, my nickname for it is the Great Equalizer, because you know, it can fix anything. You may not intend to use it, but you may just need it. So I've taken mine and pressed them into smaller pans so I can keep it in a palette. And it's just saved me time and time again. And I think it's just an excellent Halloween product.
Can I ask a question on the powder? Would you use that much powder on more mature skin?
If they wanted to look like a doll, maybe. But I would probably, you know, I think when we talk about mature skin, we have this blanket idea of what that means. Technically, I'm a mature skin. I'm 54. So I think you want to deal with texture and where people have texture that you want to hide and where they have texture that's smooth. But you know, Studio Fix is a very popular foundation, and it's one of the things that put MAC on the map, and people of all ages use it. But this amount, now for Halloween, depends on the character, right? It depends on the character. But I think to get that doll-like, like mannequin-like skin, yes.
So for me, this is the 168 brush that you would normally use for contouring. Open for me and look up. And I'm just blending that paint stick white right into her liner. And you're seeing that you're getting this really beautiful highlight that's happening, but it's blended. It looks quite smooth, so it's really easy to go on top of the paint stick. Not the paint stick, the chroma cake. All right.
I'm still over here blending away with the bougie.
Blend away.
But you'll notice that I also am not coming down really low into the socket of the eye. I'm really concentrating the product right up here. And again, that natural depth that I've just left to be exposed is sort of blending itself into the product.
So I've got my paint sticks in a different palette, but this is the whole collection. And I want to go in now because she looks so flat and vinyl-y that there's no feature, right? She's almost featureless except for her brows. So I like to go in now, let's add a bit of color. And I'm thinking of what I'm going to put on her eyes and lips because that's going to determine what I do on your cheeks. I think I want to mix these two, Cam. I want to mix a bit of orange and the magenta. Oh, that's pretty. This is the beauty of paint sticks. You know, they're a very high performance product. And I like that they give you an artist range of colors like you would get in an art supply store. So you have great colors you can use right out of the palette, but I love blending these to customize.
So I'm playing with a little bit of the yellow and going in and giving a little bit of a highlight in here just to create a bit more dimension. And then I'm going to go in and cover the brow right now with, again, a couple of pumps of the Fix Plus, the chroma cake, and we'll just layer on top of the glue. Again, it's best that you get it to be more like a paste. So you see me working it in, looking at it so it's drying out, tap, 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 and then just press. So really good coverage. You can let this dry and do a second layer. The most important thing is to make sure that your glue underneath is dry. So that was part of my prep today.
I am grabbing a little bit of Diva lipstick. And for as much as I know this is like really like at what part of the look in a ghoul, like what part of a ghoul wears blush? Well, this ghoul's gonna wear a little bit of blush. I really like that high blush placement. And this sort of helps us bring a kind of young and sort of foppy element to the ghoul. And I was sort of inspired in thinking about this last night while I was watching Beetlejuice. And thinking like so many films we see, like the first film, like the first Star Wars was like Luke Skywalker as like maybe a 20-year-old. Then we go through Luke Skywalker for a few years, then we come back to Star Wars and we see him very young, right? So this is sort of where my mind is going, and making a Halloween idea or design your own, and like what is the story there. And so we're maybe going a bit back in time to when this ghoul was just the freshest of youth ghoul.
Teen ghoul.
A teen ghoul.
I feel like we were all teen ghouls.
Speak for yourself.
I was. My sister will tell you I was. All right, so just layering again. I'll let this dry and do a second layer over the brow. And for today, I don't need to totally cover it because we have an applique that's going on top, but I just want to mute it out a little bit.
I'm taking the coral from this palette and I'm layering powder over cream, tone on tone, because I really want to intensify this beautiful kind of apricot color on the cheek. Stipple, stipple, stipple. So she's got something creamy that's been powdered, then something creamy that's been powdered on top of that. I get that question a lot. Can you do creams over powders? I'm like, all day long. I think it has more to do with nowadays technique, because the technology is so good with products, and products are so versatile. Put a little bit there. All right.
So while I'm waiting for this to dry down, I'm going to powder it, but I can go straight in again with the paint stick palette and my it is 168, that's right, 168S. And let's go in with this blue. Let's make her icy and sort of frozen. All right, and do this for me. We were laughing about this because I said, can you do this? And yeah, anyway, all right, stay there. So very light. I'm taking a little bit off on my hand and then just tapping, the same that you would do when you're doing a more sculpted fashion look. And just really going heavy by the hairline and then bringing it in. I'm gonna leave that and let it dry and go to the other side. So notice that we're not lifting. The product is drying down, so it's adhering to the skin really nicely.
One of my all-time favorite MAC products is this Prep and Prime 24-hour Extend Eye Base. And when people say, what does it do? I'm like, the name says it all. I used to do a very long shift for MAC on QVC, and I would use this under my eye makeup, and I've put this to the 24-hour test on several occasions. It really is like a double stick tape for your eyeshadow. It looks sort of beige when you take it out of the tube, but it goes on clear, which gives you the ability to tint it any color you want or not. And I'm going to take a bit of this cyan paint stick and mix it because I want to tint it in the colors that I'm going to use on her eyes. But that's going to help me get a really great build of color of eyeshadow. It's going to help that eyeshadow last throughout your revelry on Halloween night. And I'm using this flat brush. I just want to paint it on. I want to have you look down though, but don't close, because I don't want this to get on your lower lid. And I can paint that on. I don't have to be precious with it because it's a doll. And I actually want more hard edges, because what keeps a doll makeup from just looking like a really well-built high beat, right? So I think one of the things is having some more of those graphic lines on areas of the face. So you're going to see me do those on the eye and the lip. Now look straight for me.
So can you tell I love this palette? So I'm making it really strong by the hairline so you can see the blue, and then it fades and sort of mixes in with the green, and then I'm carving it. Shelly is really the kindest person in the office. She's always smiling, but today I need to make her look a little angry. or just very powerful and strong and, I don't know, and green.
I've now started to come in with black and build the smoky eye. One of the reasons I decided to not take out Jack's brow with glue stick is because I feel like I can really use it in this shape. I can really use it for the expression. And then I may or may not at the end come back in with some green paint stick and actually wag at the hairs and bring the brow back out. I'm going really big with this shape, but really being careful to try to preserve the edges of the bougie paint pot that I used earlier. Okay, look up for me, babe, and blink as much as you
So now that the green is drying down, you're going to find that it becomes more firm. So if you're pulling with the brush, you might feel like it's skipping. So what I like to do is also the same thing, is just tap. But as it dries, then you can eventually just pull. So just grabbing a little bit, pulling, and a little bit tap. So if you've made any mistake, like I feel like I can clean this up a little nicer, right? So you can go back with whatever's left on your green brush, don't wet it, and then just use this as your cleanup or concealer, green concealer, right?
I need a new concealer.
Yeah.
Let's get you matched.
Yes, perfect shade of green.
You're a green 20.
All right.
Okay. I want to go in now with the palette again, build some layers. And I think what I want to do is use this blue and maybe do an edge on the socket with that black. Let's go into this first. Get a little wiggle and press. You're going to look down. Perfect. Look how that grabs and lets me build this blue. I want to try to do this with little to no fallout. Just want to make sure I tap off my excess. And look at how rich that is. I'm just tapping and wiggling. And so I'm making sure not to overload, because this is a very pigmented shadow. And I love the 242 brush. I can almost do a whole face with this brush, right? Some of us may have in a pinch. It's, I think, one of the most versatile brushes that we make. It works on eyes, it does concealer, it works great lip brush on lips. I even do brows with it.
So I'm purposely using this. How many people remember the Stranger Things brush from MAC? Obsessed, still love it, still use it. And going in with the blue from the Paint Stick palette. Look how pretty that color is, and layers, and it just looks like blown out. You can really just buff it. I'm gonna just blend all this. I've been quite messy with the look, but it'll all sort of come together, and because you're using creams and because I haven't powdered this yet. So you can still sort of like play with it, mold it together, and then just powder it, and then you're ready to go.
I'm still blending away with the black.
Wait, Shelly, I feel like you should be having a look as we go along. Yesterday I said I didn't want her to scare herself, so I'm like, let me show you as we do it in stages. Strange, because we did half a face yesterday, and now we're doing whole. Yep. Oh, thank you.
Really bring out your inner villain.
Yeah. Yes, it brings out her eyes, I guess. Plus, I mean, look at this palette. It's just fun. You can choose any of them. It could have been this lighter one, but I just figured that this would look so pretty against the green, against the white, and then we'll add some metallic elements later too.
I'm going to add metallic elements to mine at some point as well. And I think one of the things that makes going in this direction for our makeup so challenging for us sometimes is like we fight the pretty. It's like, okay, that's not pretty. And part of what I think makes Halloween such a great opportunity to explore characters is there's like that roughness to it and that like artist stroke and slate asymmetrical kind of approach can actually give it a bit more grit. You know, and if you're in doubt, stop yourself. Like it's also different doing yourself than doing someone else, right? So if I'm doing myself, it's always about like stopping and backing up and really kind of, or taking a selfie with a flash, because at the end of the day, it's all about that. We just want it to look right in a flash. And stepping back when you're working on someone else and keep going, you know, just keep going and resist that urge to take something off. I'm coming back in with the bougie paint pot just to soften and create like an inner light blinding to the eye.
I like that, Chantel, light blinding.
Light blinding.
I can see it now.
Did you say light blindness? I have that.
So I'm just layering on a little bit more of the yellow to create some dimension on the eye and blend. So notice that when I started, I did the black liner first. I did a quick liner. And the reason for that is my fingers are quite cold. How many people have cold hands? How many people have warm hands? Okay, so you know for an artist, it's always tricky because if it's warmer, you might lift something, right? If it's cold, it's just like, just freezing it. Yesterday, by the way, if you want to dry the brows really quickly, dry the glue down, you can take ice and just run it over it, and the ice helps to flatten it as well. We did that yesterday just to dry it quick. But yeah. All right, let's blend.
I'm going to take one of my most favorite pro products at MAC, which is MAC acrylic. And what I love about MAC acrylic is it's not actually acrylic, but it really does behave like acrylic paint in that you can paint a layer, let it set for a few minutes and dry, and you can paint dark over light, light over dark, and the color that you paint over won't drop into the base color. That's a really, really beautiful thing for Halloween and for other makeups too. Acrylics, we've used them for years. We've done body paintings with them. Beauty makeups, they have an application in any type of makeup you could do. I want to give her eyes a little more doll-like presence with a little more white. But you know, on an actual doll, you would see white. So I think it would be good to use white. But sometimes I'll add a bit of yellow just to tone it down a bit so it's not so stark, especially on a richer skin tone. So that's an option. I'll start with a layer of white, and then if I decide it's a little stark, I'll go over it with a bit of a beige or cream. And I like to let these, if they're pretty liquidy when you open, I like to get it out and let it start having exposure to the air so it thickens up a little bit. Still liquidy, but a little bit more body. So I'm gonna have you turn to me, Cam. I'm gonna have you look up and try not to blink.
So this is what I was saying about adding the yellow on top of the green. So Shelly is gonna be the witch that's gonna be up at the club later on. So she's got a cut crease that's starting on this side, as you can see. So it really does like transform. You're able to layer and build. Any color will go on top of each other.
I tell you. And just look straight.
I'm now grabbing that palette that
What
Fatima
is it?
was talking about before, Hi-Fi Color, which has Starry Night in it, the eyeshadow partner to the paint pot I was using. And I'm starting to bring in more metallic in certain areas. And so you'll see as we turn into the light, you're just getting, you know, a bit more punch don't worry, we're going to use glitter too. It's Halloween. It's a must.
Halloween isn't Halloween without glitter.
I
It
know.
has to be somewhere.
I mean, I feel like Mondays aren't Mondays without glitter, but
And then
just me.
the glitter stays, and you just roll on through the Christmas with it.
Right.
Or holidays, right? Roll on through the holiday. Right, so that's one layer of a bit of acrylic under the eye. Now I'm going to do another layer. I'm going to have you look up. Another thing I love to do with acrylic is create colored mascara, because you can mix anything you want. And if you use a lash primer first to give you that volume that you might be seeking, then you can paint over that with acrylic and it stays put. Keep looking up for me. Just gonna let that dry.
So I was being really, really careful not to go over the black liner with the chroma cake, but I did. So now, because it gets cloudy, right? So that's why I started with the black first, and that I wasn't touching the face as much. So I'm going in now just with the liner, brush black, and just giving her a little touch up.
You can blink as much as you need to.
Turn this way.
Okay.
With the Beetlejuice, it actually really helps a lot. I actually have 2 appointments coming up for makeup Halloween.
Perfect.
My problem is that I love a full beat. I'm a true matte girl. That
Yeah.
sometimes, instead of making it scary, I'll accidentally make them look like this like beautiful, hot, sexy monster. I want it to be like actually scary. So it's actually nice to see like you do it, because sometimes I'll like do like blush where it's supposed to be, and I'll make it like a beautiful black shadow, and they'll be like, this is so pretty, but like I'm not scary.
I think, there's a market for that too, and that's why October is like the best month, because there's just so much like individuality in different approaches, and it's such a creative time of the year. But I mean, I would say my aesthetic is definitely more, I think I was probably more born for grunge than any other type of a trend. And I really like sometimes taking off makeup and the makeup that creates. So, give yourself a little, I guess, this is a great moment to experiment too, right? Because it's Halloween. You can really sell anything. So try it and see if it works for you. I added a little bit of an eyeshadow called Discotheque, which is a bright, shiny platinum silver. I was capitalizing on, when I was applying the black, I was capitalizing on the moments that the skin didn't grab the product, so that there are like these little holes, like especially around this inner corner where we so frequently like to highlight to like ping into beam. And so I think that highlight that left behind was quite cool and quite natural, but I thought adding a little silver to it would make it all impactful. I mean, the other thing is always consider where your makeup is living, right? Like there's a difference between going to a happy hour party and the lighting that is gonna be there versus sticking it hard till 2 o'clock in the morning in a dark club somewhere, and what that light's gonna look like. And I like to think about just different scenarios and what will optimize the texture. So I'm also gonna do some Fix Plus over a lot of this at the end, so it's gonna make it look really like wet and oil slicked.
Chantel, would that be the Halloween rave?
The Halloween rave, always.
So now I'm using a little bit of the Glide or Die Color Excess pencil. I love this pencil because it really stays in the waterline and it's easy. So I've drawn a line from the inside to the out, like right in here, connecting the two, and just look at the difference, right? Super easy, really seamless, and it stays in place and does not move.
Like Romero, I love to make sure that like a Halloween makeup is going to stay for hours and hours and hours because you know it's a long haul. But in this case, I'm actually using Feline, a kohl pencil, around the inner rim of the eye because we all know what kohl pencils look like when we're trying to keep them in place. You know, you're going to get a smudge. And so in this case, I'm going to work with, I have so many waterproof and water resistant textures underneath this. I don't have to worry about any of that going anywhere. So as the Feline melts into the warmth of the skin and expands throughout the night, it's only going to make the eye area look better and better and better.
So I'm going in with the Connect in color palette, same that Chantel and Fatima are using. And now I'm just gonna set under the eyes in the yellow. I'm gonna do a little cleanup here where it's met our chroma cake. And then go in and just press.
I'm adding some graphic details to Cam's eye makeup. Oops. Taking a bit of carbon from my eyeshadow palette and going in and tracing the edge of this blue. Okay, I see it. And I'm just deciding if I want to add a black line here as well. And I'm undecided, so I'm going to wait. I'll come back to it.
So now I'm just tapping and blurring that yellow down and out onto the chroma cake.
Jack is a trooper with the kohl pencil up in there.
Jack, is there something you're not telling me?
The one thing I will say about doing an eye with this level of smoke and this level of depth is I still really like the black all the way in between the lashes, in between everything. So although it will eventually get there, since we all won't be with Jack when he's out at 3 o'clock in the morning and the eyeliner is looking really amazing, I'm gonna take a small blending brush and just kind of help get it in between the lashes. Close for me, darling.
I have a question for. I have a question about if you get something on the chroma cake that you did not want there.
Yes.
What's your best practice to clean that up?
Good question. It happened to me yesterday where something fell on it and a spoolie to just like lift it off, right? It was like a crumb of blue. And I knew that if I was going to try to wipe it off with a cream product, it would just put a hole in everything. What's great about this is even though you put a hole in it, you can go back and repatch it. If you've mixed two colors together, then that's tricky. But because I'm using one color, I know no matter what, if I go back with the same shade after creating a hole, I can patch it. Good question.
And speaking of using two colors, what we would typically do when we body painted, if you knew you would customize a color, you wanted to customize a color, mix a batch. Mix a batch for yourself.
Fatima.
And if you wet the chroma cake and let it sit a little bit, it'll get soft. And so you can take it in a bowl or a container you don't care about, and then mash your colors together with some Fix Plus or some water. And if you let it sit, all of that moisture evaporates out and it becomes a cake again. So that's how you can customize your color.
I remember it's either Fatima or Chantel back in the day at Pro Events with a blender.
Yes.
Louise.
Okay, Louise. And we had to do like an army of people covered from head to toe. Honestly, one of these can probably do an entire body as thick as this face, at least. So I remember them putting them in the blender like a special formula and just grinding it up. And as Fatima says, when it dries down, then it comes back and just sort of melts. So it's pretty amazing.
Do you guys use distilled water for that?
Distilled water?
We use tap. Tap.
I only ask because I know when it comes to cosmetics in general, water is the source of bacteria. So if it's something that may sit there later that you'll come back to. So mold doesn't.
Well, we
possibly-
didn't because typically if we were mixing a batch of something, we weren't reusing that batch.
Yeah.
If we were body painting someone and we're dipping our brush to paint their body, that batch gets, whatever's left got thrown away. But, I mean, you could use distilled water if you want to make colors that you want to reuse. That's not a bad idea.
And just because my kit is right here, I'm going to show you what, not that I've made a batch or anything, just to show you what it looks like to have the chroma cake in a palette. So,
I like it.
so can you imagine, instead of carrying around many of these, like this, one of these could do 3 faces, right, and not be empty. It's that, yeah, it's that good. All right, so I'm powdering with a little bit of translucent powder. I also have the invisible set. How many people have used the invisible set? Oh, you have. So it's great, and I see a lot of people using it online. The only thing is it will lighten as you put it on, so it's great if you're doing more of a highlight. I want to keep my color true, so I'm using the translucent, but you can use this and give it a little bit of a light cast. And I'm purposely doing that here to sort of like blend out my white spot in the center.
Another favorite for me, personally and professionally, this is Brush Black Brush Stroke Liner. This is so ergonomic for me because it's like the right brush with the right amount of product coming out of the pen. And it's made it so easy for me to do wing liners on people. Sometimes I even use it as a base. If I want to go over it with a different product, I will start the lining with this. But I'm doing a line across Cam's upper lashes. And this brush, if you haven't tried this, you got to try it. It's got just enough bend in the brush. It's not too flimsy, but it's not too firm. It's just enough bend. You can get a bold line like that. You can get thinner lines. And I love this product, and I'll tell anybody who'll listen. Isn't it good? Brush Stroke, just Brush Black. That's the street name, Brush Black. Its long government name is Brush Stroke, Brush Stroke Liner in Brush Black. But if you say Brush Black, we'll know. And it also comes in brown.
And I'm using the same liner as Fatima. This is my touch up here. So you noticed a little bit of transfer on Shelly's lid, and that's because I didn't powder the lids. So now that they're powdered, we're gonna have better results, and I'm just going back and doing a little retouching, have her keep her eyes dry, lowered until it dries, and it will be ready to go.
I'm over here working on skin a little bit. I think I got the eyes to an interesting place for now. I did come back into this hi-fi color palette, and I used a little bit of the Starry Night mixed with the pink and the orange to create a bit more of a seamless line between the eye shape and the cheek shape. And that's another reason I love Starry Night so much, because you get it off of black and all of a sudden there's this like odd ginger fleshiness to it. So it makes blending across and coloring outside of the lines a lot easier. I'm back to the Diva lipstick and a little bit of the black chroma line on my hand, and just kind of coming in and making the low areas of the skin lower and a little bit more sallow and drawn out. But I'm kind of really doing that with not a lot of structure, not a lot of pressure, letting the brush skip where the brush can skip. And then I love a Glow Play blush. We recently came out with an expanded color range in Glow Play, and so we started to do some deeper fleshy tones. This one is True Harmony. It's a riff off of our original Harmony blush. And it's just like a great undertone on Jax. So I'm using that to kind of further shape the face and just sort of bring all of the areas together.
It's such a magnificent color.
Isn't it though? It's so good.
So up next, we're gonna add some lashes. So I've created some paper and hair lashes. It's number 4 and 6 for MAC, and 4 and 7, sorry, with a little bit of paper. We tried these yesterday and they look amazing. I thought they were going to be too big for Shelly, but she loved them. She looked like a glam witch, which she is today. And let's go in and just add them. Down for me.
Hold very still for me. I want to draw some lashes. Let me warm this up. And she's got a lot of powder and layers. So I'm just taking my time with these lashes. Try not to blink for a sec.
How many like to put a little of the lash glue on the skin as well as on the lash? Makes a big difference. Great for weddings, doesn't come off, stays in place. I do the same.
I love something that's great for weddings and Halloween.
That's right. That means it works.
It's worth it.
Yes. It's about it lasting, right? You want to look good and come home and look at yourself in your mirror and think, wow, this looks even better now.
For longer days, I put a little line of eyelash glue on the lid, and I'll put it on to make it double.
Oh, I like that.
Double, double, toil and trouble. Look that way, don't look at it.
I am rounding the corner on this. I'm now coming in with the same powder that Romero's using and just using it to control the light and the shine where I need to. And I think it's great because I chose traditional beauty products that have gleam and glisten, didn't go too far with the face. You know, as Jack moves through the light, you're still really catching like a skin tone to it, right? I'm probably actually gonna add, even still, a little bit of shimmering powder. But I've got glitter and then I have the catering and food portion of this makeup. So I'm gonna do the catering and food portion of this makeup next.
That's my favorite part.
Has anyone in here taken the Makeup Artist Union exam? Okay, great. I don't know. This was part of this kind of shenanigans was part of the process in the 90s. And it really harkens back to an era before there were prosthetics and before there were ways to get an appliance made that you could have every day. And so people on film used to go through this like happy hands at home kitchen crafts special effects every day. And these makeup artists would gently take these appliances back off people's face and then spray them down with Krylon acrylic spray paint and try to make an appliance that they could then apply the next day. So as you all know, Beetlejuice, this particular ghoul, has a penchant for having some sort of like moss always stuck to his face. And so in my kitchen cabinet today, I decided for you guys that a mixture of hemp seed and oregano was probably gonna be about the right texture for this approach. However, I will also say that as a backup, I have 2 different flavors of instant oatmeal, which may also bring some texture into this. So we're just gonna do a little bit of the moss outside the lower lip in the, very like traditional placement for Beetlejuice. And I think I'm gonna show you guys how to do some kitchen crafts.
And she promised me the pack of oatmeal that she doesn't use. I know, friends don't let friends go hungry.
I've just wet this gold shadow here from the palette, and I'm using it as a guideline or highlight for the lip. So we created this giant lip for Shelly yesterday, which was a little, I thought she was gonna be really scared when she saw it, and she said, wow, this really balances the look, Romero. I'm like, okay, yes, that's what we want, Shelly. All right, so just giving myself a little bit of a guideline, wanting it to be sort of pointy and a little bit more sinister. And then I'm going in with Caviar lipstick. How many people have used this product? Dream, amazing. It's like a red, it's incredible.
I'm putting on a lash, because, you gotta have lashes. This is the number 89. It's called the Megastar. I'm gonna have Cam look forward. I drew lashes on the bottom. I thought about putting a strip or some individuals, but I thought it'll look more doll-like, more vinyl if I draw them and then do some actual lashes on the top. Now these have a really firm band. So what I like to do, of course, is after I put the glue on, really massage them, loosen them up a bit so they hug the eye nicely. And I think one approach that I take for Halloween makeups, or any makeup for that matter, is I like to take this dovetailed approach where I'll start just getting things on, and then I'll go back and refine or dovetail into the details. So I don't get caught up in the details too early, because I know me, I can spin out and just be on that one eye like, yes, perfect. So I make myself step away, get more things on the face, then at the end, come back and do your zhuzh.
Can I ask, what's your favorite trick to do lower lashes on the skin that you did?
What Romero talked about, putting some glue on the skin first, where you want the lash to be.
Oh no, I'm talking about the painted lashes.
Oh, the painted ones.
I think there's times where you'll
pray.
try to apply it and it just like.
No, you know, I do have a tip. Drawing starts with seeing, not with drawing. So if you can look at the person or yourself and envision where you want to see things, that's the first tip I would give you. Don't just go in willy-nilly without a plan or without a vision. Actually look at and envision where you want those lashes to be, because then your hand can follow through, and that's half the battle. And under the eye, because most of us have fold here, right, and the eye needs to move, I usually have the person look forward, because there's a tendency to want to make them look up because it's smooth, right? But then when they look down, it folds, and so you might get lashes that look like dashes, staccato dashes. So I have them look straight ahead, and I go in and I gently draw in with my brush stroke liner, and I just build them. I don't try and get it all in one stroke. I just do a little and build it, and patience. So put a little glue on this lash and get it ready. I really like this duo in the tube here with the applicator. Traditional duo and me, we're not enemies, but you know, sometimes I'm thinking that the glue is tackier than it is, and this gets tacky quick, so this is my favorite choice for lash glue. All right, that should be nice and molded. I remember the first time I put lashes on another person, I was so nervous. I felt a sweat rolling down under my shirt. And it was a client of mine who was very kind, and she could tell I was nervous. And I said, "Does that feel okay?" She said, "Nope." I said, "Uh-oh." Another bead of sweat came down. She said, "Baby, just take it off and do it again." I said, "Oh yeah, I can do it again." And I think that's also a good lesson with makeup, is to know that nothing we do is permanent. It can all be wiped off or corrected easily. Let's see. Have a look at the people. Now I got to give her some juicy, shiny Bratz lips, because the Bratz dolls, you know they wear lip gloss. What are y'all doing over there? It's looking great.
All right, so I'm not talking because I'm working on the lip.
It's looking
And
amazing,
it's caviar,
Romero.
of course.
And Chantel, that looks awesome.
But we're almost done with the lip. And how many people have used Dazzle Shadow Liquid? Obsessed, obsessed. So my favorite color, of course, is Diamond Crumbles. And this one is called Panther Ties, and it's always sold out. And I'm going to show you why. So I'm going to do a little bit of a mix with these two and just tap a little. So that's what you're getting here. Blending the two. And open.
Look down.
Look how cool that is. Imagine that with some clear lip gloss on top. You're getting this sort of blue and icy look. Open up.
Is it diamond crumbles?
Yeah, diamond and panther ties.
And oh, so good.
Just stay closed. So my arts and crafts project over here is progressing quite nicely. I did get the food stuffs on, and then this is a real moment. Hang on, I'm just gonna push this glitter in real quick and then explain to you guys what I did. This is a moment where like duo adhesive will totally suffice, and you can go and buy a big bottle of like a stage adhesive. You can use spirit gum. You can use anything you get from a special effects store. However, like duo will get the job done, and I feel like I maybe do this once a year. So duo it is. Draw and open for me. So basically what you do is I like to tear a sponge so the edges are raw and rumpled, because you want to be able to like really stipple a fair amount of duo on and over and across this. You want to do about 3 to 4 layers, but you've got to layer up while everything's wet. Duo is a contact adhesive, so until it's powdered, it will stay sticky. So if your sponge edge or your brush catches it while it's dry, it'll yank it off. So I just threw a big fat lump of duo on this. Then I'm gonna, like, I'm breaking and I'm popping the glitter on. And now as you can start to see, this is becoming clear. Once it's clear, I'm gonna powder it. I'm gonna add just a little bit of like chroma cake on the top to make it look mossy, and we'll be done with it. But I'm doing glitter in the meantime. And funny story about this glitter, I've had this glitter mix since 2017. We custom mixed it out of like 6 or 7 MAC Pro glitters for a show in Paris. I have no idea what's in here, but I can tell you it's MAC. And I'm just using this with a little bit of eyeliner mixing medium on the lid, again, just to glam it up a little bit more.
So I want to speak to you, let you know that I was serious when I said if you powdered the chroma cake that it wouldn't crease. Look at her eyelids now. It's not creasing on the lids and not transferring down to her liner. All right, so I'm following Chantel's, oh my God, okay, I'm not even gonna turn this upside down. You know what's gonna happen. This I bought last night at the Mac Pro Shop in Soho. They were open till 8, so after we finished our makeup test, I ran there for this. So it is, I'll tell you the name later when I close it. So I'm going in, taking, yes, we know products like this, right? It can live in your house forever. All right, so I'm mixing it with the diamond crumbles, and I love diamond crumbles as a base for anything shimmery. And just tapping, and you get this beautiful reflection. It's gonna dry down and stay in place. I'm even gonna run it into that blue. So it is a complete sort of glammy, sparkly. Let's see, turn for me.
This is chestnut liner. Thank you for asking. The almighty chestnut liner. I thought about cork, and I thought, nah, let's go with chestnut. Because what would a Bratz doll be wearing? Probably chestnut. And I'm gonna add shadow as her lip color. This is Amber Lights eyeshadow, an oldie but goodie. She might have been one of my first eyeshadows from MAC. And this is the point where I could decide, am I gonna leave it dry but shimmery, or am I gonna put lip gloss over it? And you know I'm gonna put lip gloss over it. But it looks really great. I think it looks great without the lip gloss too, because it looks more like a doll. But we gotta have that shine.
How many people have used an extra dimension highlighters? Show gold? Van knows it's my favorite color from many shows. So I'm using the 240S brush. And again, look up for me, yes. Tapping on top, right on top of the chroma cake, and getting this sort of refined metallic shimmer. Turn this way. A little bit more. And just really pretty. I was thinking of filling in that negative space under the eye with something, but I think her skin looks great the way it is. So I'm going to leave it. Just look straight ahead. This negative space here. Yeah.
I'm gonna style my doll's hair, because that's half the fun, right, with your doll. And you know, it's the blue in this palette. This is the hi-fi color, and it's that teal. I think it's, hold on, what's it called? You can only get it in this palette. Triennial Wave. But I like what that gold is doing. So I want to put a little bit and frost her cheeks a bit. Because doll makeup has really become more extravagant. If you look closely at dolls, they have on highlight, they have on 2 shades of blush sometimes. So the artistry with the dolls has really come a long way. And from when I was a kid, all right, we ready for lip gloss? All right, so I don't know why I'm pumping it. There's no, it doesn't do anything. But what I do like to do is get in there and twirl and get the gloss off the wall of the tube and mush it off here. And do that a few times so I can really build up a nice pool and scoop it up so I have a nice dollop. And this is called Beaux, B-E-A-U-X.
Can you open that palette for me one more time, babe? Thanks.
Now, ever so gently, Cam, just press. Don't mush, just pop. Perfect.
So up next, I think I'm going to add a little bit of a brow. I normally would do just a painted brow on top of this and you won't see the texture, but I've created some appliques and I've pre-glued them so they're pretty sticky, but maybe I'll have you hold this really quick. I'm gonna add a little bit more glue and press it in place. Just, let's do this as well. So Cam and Shelly were talking about taking the train home together.
I love it.
And Shelly was like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, she's got glued down brows. She has all this on and an applique. And I'm like, maybe we need to take hers off. I'm just saying. But it would be great, right? Seeing them in the train. I mean, nobody would blink. It's New York City.
It's Comic-Con right now.
Exactly.
Oh, true.
Tis
That's
the
right.
season.
So Romero, did you say you love Whisper of Guilt? Was that what you were using?
It was Show Gold.
Show Gold. And so to your Show Gold, I'm a double gleam girl.
Ooh.
I'm gonna, just to finish up, add a few little sparkling highlights to this. Because more is more.
More is more. More is definitely more.
This is the Future Flame. Am I getting it right? Yep. Future Flame. And I used the white gold. It looks white, but it goes gold. And a bit of Amber Lights to highlight the cheek. And Amber Lights was on the lip with Chestnut. And I'm pretty much done with my Bratz doll. You gotta be like attitude, like Bratz.
Fatima, I think I will
Gorgeous.
grab a little of your gloss as well.
Yes, do
and
you
finish.
want both?
Yeah, just the.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go. The cap is loose for you.
Perfect.
I feel like I'm done too. I'm just debating about whether I add the green back to the eyebrow. Dealer's choice. What do you guys think? Add the yeah.
add
Okay.
it. And I'm fighting, Chantel. You know, someone asked you earlier about resisting the pretty for certain makeups. I'm fighting right now to not add contour because it's the instinct to want to contour, but it's a doll. She should look vinyl. She should look unreal. So I'm not going to contour her. I want that vinyl-like skin.
She does look unreal.
My living Bratz doll. I'm going to get you some new outfits.
What do you
Ooh, I don't even remember. I'm like, what? Oh, it's a blue. I don't know. It's in a palette now. I don't know. I have probably 2,000 eyeshadows. This was taken out of its packaging and put into a big palette, and I have no idea. It's a powder.
Somewhat
It's definitely a
similar
powder.
to like if you use Starry Night Wet
I think so. It's
or like a brighter club. It kind of looks like Spanish Fly lipstick for anyone who
kinda.
remembers.
And in the pan, it looks a bit brighter. It almost looks like blue white. So I wish I remembered what it is. Thank you. Thank you. It kind of it's electrified. Like when you turn, you see it, and then you don't.
So, of course, I'm almost done, but you know what? We have to do the clear lip gloss on top of this.
Go for it.
Yeah. Who thinks it? Should we do it?
Do it.
Yes? Okay.
Do it.
It's a must. This is like the reveal, the reveal, if you know what I'm saying. All right.
She's like, I'm a fashion and beauty witch. I don't know what you mean.
So everyone, in your last minute, we only have like a minute left. So if you guys have any questions, now's the time. Remember, raise your hand, and I'll pass you the mic so everyone on Zoom can hear.
Were we that thorough?
Wow.
Oh. But please don't be shy if you have questions.
So would you spray this at the end to set it?
You could. You know, I think one great thing that we benefit from in this current age of beauty is that the technology is so good. You have so many high performance products now. 12-hour wear, waterproof, 24-hour wear. So yeah, you could set it with a setting spray. We make one. It's over in the other room. It's called. It's called Fix Plus Stay Over, and it's got film formers that help protect and like shrink wrap your makeup, but it doesn't have alcohol. So it's got the main ingredient that gives you the work without the drying. Do you want me to shrink wrap this for you? How long do you need it to last?
Until I get home.
It'll last. This will last for hours just without being set. So she's not going dancing, right?
I might.
You might. Well, then maybe I'll have to shrink wrap it with some Fix Plus Stay Over.
With this beat.
Yeah. You haven't seen yourself.
I have not.
You ready?
Well, actually, you haven't either.
Oh my gosh.
Take a look.
Do you feel bratty?
Mm-hmm. No lipstick off my tooth. Oh my gosh. I don't even want to take it off.
Yes.
Well, I better spray it. I'll spray it for you.
Fun.
Oh, these look amazing. Oh,
So
I
what do you
love
guys
it.
think? Good?
I love it.
Well, I guess we should say a happy and a safe Halloween from MAC Cosmetics and MAC Pro.
Very pretty.
Yeah.
And guys, we have a special giveaway. So if anyone looks under their chair, whoever has a lipstick will get a little special gift bag from me. So come find me after the class.
Oh, fancy.
There are lipsticks under the chairs. If you guys even find a lipstick in a chair, just come to me. I'll give you a gift bag.
Romero.
Yes.
I'm gonna give you this so I don't forget.
Thank you, Fatima.
We are recording this activity.
Hey, there we go.
All right.
Lipsticks are being found.
What do you think?
Yeah, there's more than one, y'all.
Thank you. I hope you all
you.
had as much
I'm
fun
as messy
we
as a
did.
5-year-old with.
Yeah.
And you all are more than welcome to come up and get
I mean-
close, or if you have any questions you don't want to ask in front of a group, we're here.
And come take a close look at the skin with the chroma cake because it looks like a foundation.
All the
Have
things.
so much lip gloss that you're like, I feel it. Because I loaded you up, my dear.
Love that.